Thank you, Chairman, sir. Firstly, I would like to thank my party for giving me the opportunity to speak on demands for civil aviation. And I would like to thank our Honorable Prime Minister for the Operation Ganga and the Honorable Ministers who had gone from India to Poland, to Romania, and Hungary, and everyone, all the 4 ministers and the entire team of the Air Force and the Department of Civil Aviation and the Defence Forces, and who were helpful to help to get all our citizens back from Ukraine and from the affected area. And I also want to thank the countries which supported us in this thing. Sir, I would like to firstly begin my speech by saying that when you look at the budget, a large part of the budget has been put in for the allocation for Air India Asset Holding Company. When you look at Air India Asset Holding Company, the money which has gone in, we must also think about, हमें स्मरण होना चाहिए कि ये क्यों हुआ? ये इसलिए हुआ है क्योंकि यूपीए की सरकार में इतने प्लेन खरीदे गए, इतने प्लेन खरीदने के बाद भी और इसके साथ साथ इसके ईगॉम के 2 ईगॉम हुए, जिसमें सितंबर में ईगॉम हुआ और सितंबर की ईगॉम के बाद दिसंबर में ईगॉम हुआ. प्राइस रिवीजन में इसमें वर्तमान में इसके जो चर्चा करते करते इसको अपने को देखने को मिलेगा कि it's gone under is being investigated by the CBI. Now, when we talk about that, the pressure went on to the government and on Air India to purchase these planes. Therefore, as the Honourable Minister and the government has said, we want to be facilitators. We want to be giving you guidelines. And the facilitating process to help this out, the Honourable Prime Minister has now, after disinvestment of India through DIPAM, has gone in. So 9,259 crores has gone in for this year, and it will go in for successive years to for the misdeeds of the previous UPA government, which were done, thanks to which we have to now pay for that, and to get us out of the financial stress vis-a-vis the Civil Aviation Ministry.
Who was heading EGOM?
At that time, the EGOM was headed by then a member who was the Home Minister of Government of India, and he changed the EGOM rates from September to December. And this has to be mentioned and to be put on the floor of the House, so that due to this problem, we means the civil aviation industry, the Air India, the Maharaja, had to face a problem, and that's to which we have to now divest and look toward the divestment route. Therefore, this money has been kept there. When you look at Loki's policy, the government of India has finally, under the leadership of Prime Minister Modi, has looked at Hollongi Airport. When you look at the most important agriculture produce, which are coming in from Arunachal, which will, through Krishi Udan ways, will be helpful to our farmers, to our people of Arunachal, and thus for this region. Therefore, the progress is on, and Honourable Prime Minister and the Honourable Minister will thereby inaugurate it in August. And I would like to say at this moment, civil aviation is a fast and growing industry. But we went through COVID times. We had 61 million passengers in 13-14. And there was a growth of 14% that time. And since then, we had looked at that, and we looked at cargo. Now, when you look at after the operation, we had also looked at various air bubbles, which we had looked at. And the air bubbles have been there with which will help us to look at it. Now, when you look at various airports, and looking at modernization of airports, what do we need to modernize airports? Answer has been stated by then Minister of Civil Aviation, Hardeep Puri Saab, in his reply on 6 February 2020. And when you look at the passenger arrival in our country was in 1819 was 374 million per annum, passenger per annum. And so, ma'am, I mean, look at various airports. Like suppose you look at Port Blair. The Port Blair, the capacity of holding in Port Blair was 0.70 in million passengers, but we were giving them 1.71 million passengers were going there. Delhi, Dial, was the passenger holding capacity was 75 million. We were providing 69.23 passengers. Therefore, we, Honourable Minister and the Prime Minister had looked at Jewar. And when you looked at Jewar Airport and the multimodal work under the scheme or logistics scheme under Gatiman, under the Prime Minister had looked at how can we do multimodal transport from Jewar Airport, from near Gautam Budh Nagar to Delhi and elsewhere. And when you look at ATF, my previous members were talking about ATF fuel. Mantri ji has gone to everyone and asked them for reduced ATF. He's personally written letters to every ministry. I belong to the state of Rajasthan. My state has 26% ATF. Previous members were talking from Bengal. They have 25% ATF. How can we help tourism? If we can't reduce ATF, it will affect the tourism, it will affect the airline company to come to such places. We need to look at that, and we need to support the government. Now, when you look at the pre-COVID, the utilizations of, I just spoken to you about the capacity of utilization of airports. I've spoken to you about divestments. Now, let me speak to you about when we talk about the airline pilots. Airline pilots, when we had looked at airline pilots, we didn't have, there was a IGRU airline pilot center was set up in library. We have to go to a PPP mode because now the pilots coming out of these places don't have actual aircraft. They're aging aircrafts. They don't have instructors. Therefore, the government is considering to do a PPP model to look at that. And when you look at that, when you mentioned, people were mentioned about MROs. When we talk about MROs, the Indian MRO industry is giving about 2,300 crore pre-COVID. Now, this is only 15% of our work is happening here. All our industry is going abroad. So the government is considering to get MRO facilities and to increase the pilot training centers and opening the lookage policy like Leelabari, like Jalgaon, Belgavi, Khajuraho, and Kalabari. So when you look at that, sir, ma'am, I also want to talk about the government is also talking about aircraft leasing policies. 100% tax holidays for 10 years for aircraft leasing, for tax holidays for capital gains tax. So these are the facilities we're looking at that. Ma'am, we're also looking at how to link our seas and our rivers. Looking at Honourable Prime Minister had talked about how to at the Sabarmati River he had gone, and now we are also wanting to increase tourism and the airplane connectivity under the guidance of port or shipping, which will give us the opportunity on the high sea, and working with the Civil Aviation Ministry. Now, we also have reduced the paper processes under the EDGCA, so that flying policies flying licenses become easier. Heli Sevas have given opportunities so that flying services from places to place. Ma'am, my 2 minutes, ma'am. I would like to also to mention, Nitinji Gadkari had just mentioned about airports. And Honorable Mantri ji is here, and he belongs to Madhya Pradesh. But Nitinji had mentioned regarding planes landing in airports on the highway. I belong to Dholpur. In Dholpur, we have the same facility. Off the runway, we have the facility out there. Ma'am, when you talk about religious tourism, and we talk about places like Deoghar, which is under Nishikantji's constituency, where the airport is being talked about. We should open up the airport there because it is of national importance vis-a-vis it's a defense airport, plus it will also help out tourism. Gorakhpur, which is also an important center for pilgrim. We need to look at that. Ma'am, I would like to say the Mantri ji has really worked upon working him in the Mantri and the ministry, looking at how to work out regional connectivities. And the regional connectivity cannot happen alone. It's an association with the airline company and with the industry and with the Mantralaya. They both must work together. The government is giving the best facility to do that. Ma'am, I would like to end by saying that we have to talk about drones. The drone industry is a future. And when you talk about the drone industry, it will help the agriculture industry, it will help the mining industry, and it will help the infrastructure industry. The government in India, through Narendra Modi ji, Prime Minister Sahab, is talked about production-linked incentive plans vis-a-vis drones. So 120 crore money has been put in drones. And drones, ma'am, is a future for the civil aviation industry to handle, and they will be there to help for policy. So we want to thank the Mantri ji for his best efforts, and we want to thank the Honourable Prime Minister. Sir, ma'am, I would like to end by saying, Honourable Prime Minister has always mentioned about सबका साथ, सबका विश्वास और सबका विकास. उन्हीं को देखते हुए, उन्हीं के पथ चलन में अपने को चलने की आवश्यकता है. उनसे पूरी विश्वास है कि देश उनको देखते हुए, आदरणीय मंत्री जी को देखते हुए आगे बढ़ेगा. जय हिंद, जय भारत.
Thank you.